Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, traders from across the globe, and welcome to the 1159th edition of Short-Term Trading Live with Oscar. And boy, oh boy, is this stuff starting to get really volatile. Traders, as you know, we are day traders. Futures trading can be extremely risky. You've always got to have your stops in, but we're day traders, so each time I'm looking for some sort of a setup, it's usually for the next day. Last night's video was for today. Last night's video, 1158, called for the upside. That was absolutely, unequivocally wrong. It went up. The Omni gave us a long trade. The market went higher. We got out at the highs. We got back into that trade, and it dumped. It was wrong. So, bad call last night. The market is set up to go down. So, last night's call for the upside, it was a little bit zealous for the upside because I had a good reason to be. But at the same time, I was working on something for the last few days, and I kind of thought I'd keep it on the back burner. As you'll see over the next few charts I'm going to present to you, it didn't matter until today what I'm about to show you now. What really matters now, though, after today's movement, the emini, S&P, and the NASDAQ, it matters greatly. What matters is OTAPMA, and I'm going to show you why. So, traders, this is video 1159. It is for trading on Friday and going forward for the next couple of days, most likely. We're together in a class during the day, today live on Thursday. And as I said, we started off the Omni as a bullish Omni. It made a good trade, but then on the second trade, it was stopped out, and the markets have turned. So let's get into it. Why? All right, traders, here's what I've noticed. I caught this the other day, about 4, 5, 6 days ago. I'm looking at platinum, and, I used to be in the platinum pit from time to time, so platinum's one of my standbys. I look at platinum, and I noticed in the platinum that we had gotten above OTAPMA, but it ran up pretty sharply like it did last time here. So I said, let me see if that is happening elsewhere. And I went to gold. And I pulled the gold chart. And I said, whoa, same thing happened in gold. And last time it happened in gold, it was a pretty decent sized move. In fact, whenever you get around OTAPMA in gold, it becomes a decent sized move. So I said, okay, that's 2. Maybe it's nothing. So platinum's bouncing off gold. Platinum's bouncing off OTAPMA. Gold's bouncing off OTAPMA. Maybe not a big deal. We check the silver, and we recognize right away that you've got the same thing going on in silver. It's just getting above it as of today. Now, you would like to think that this is a big bear flag in silver, and, I would think that probably, but what I'm going to show you today will most likely negate this as a flag, and you will see why. This video is about OTAPMA and basically comes out of nowhere. Again, I've been watching it for days, but watch how this lines up. So I noticed platinum, gold, silver. All right, so metals getting above OTAPMA. That's probably nothing. Let's look elsewhere. So I look at the dollar index, and I go, well, this is the almighty U.S. Fed dollar index, isn't it? So, boom, look what happened 4 days ago, including today. 1, 2, 3, 4. That average was hit, and you had a nosedive, a serious nosedive. So I thought, all right, OTAPMA started to come into play. Let's do some investigating. I go over to the euro currency, and I say, wow, not much different there, is it? Euro currency bounced off of it 4 days ago. I had 4 smart days up. So now this has my attention peaked. It is my OTAPMA, the Omni Trading Academy's proprietary moving average. And I started to do a little more research, and I did the Swiss franc. And if you look at the Swiss franc, you'll notice that you've got the same sort of thing going on. Nice, huge bounce off OTAPMA, and last time you got above it, you had a major move. So what's going on here? A lot of markets are coming to OTAPMA. When that happens, a lot of times it becomes what I like to call a fundamental shift. I'd hate to see that happening, but let's continue to look at these charts. So I said, well, let's start to broaden our horizons. We looked at some metals. We looked at the dollar index. We looked at some currencies. I actually looked at 5 or 6 more. They all look very similar. So let's start looking at something that really matters, and we'll go out to the Nikkei. So does the Nikkei really matter? No, but indices certainly do. So here we are. We go out to the Nikkei and look at this. 4 days ago, OTAPMA, and the smash down. Last time it got to OTAPMA, a smash down. Last time it got under OTAPMA, a smash down. So the Omni Trading Academy's proprietary moving average is suddenly coming into play in many markets. Of course, where would that take us next? To our standby markets, the ones that we like to consider on most occasions the leaders of the U.S. indices and of the world's indices, right? So let's go out to the NASDAQ. Although the last few weeks it hasn't been leading, it certainly has been today, and it is one of the major leaders when you look at time. So the NASDAQ, let's take a look at this chart. Traders, when you look at this, I think you're going to find this next segment interesting. Here's your NASDAQ. Look what just happened. Smash down after. Now, here's why I didn't think it was important to show this video until today. Because as of last night, I'm going to remove today's insanity bar. We got back above OTAPMA. What usually happens when you get back above OTAPMA? A nice rally, especially in the NASDAQ. What happens? A nice rally, especially in the NASDAQ. So we got above OTAPMA as of last night, and I thought, all right, we should minimum now come and test the major support lines that come across the tops, all right? So we're going to go up here. We had an Omni bullish call for today. We were above OTAPMA. It looked good. Well, add today in, and things differ. Look at the nosedive it took. Now, it's a failure at OTAPMA. One of our major leaders failure at OTAPMA. So, you look at that, you look at the contract and say, all right, this is the front month right now, the June. Let's turn this into a continuous and see if it actually has a meaning. So we go out to a continuation contract and look at this, OMNIX. You do not get under OTAPMA. It just doesn't happen. If you do, it's got to be a problem because we don't get under, we don't get under, we don't get under, we don't get under. If we look back, watch what happens here. We don't get under. If you do, it becomes a problem. Ouch. So we now are under OTAPMA as of today. We were not as of last night's video. Again, this was last night's video. I didn't think it was prudent to scare anybody with this because we were back above. And again, follow me on this. If you do get below, it's very short-lived. You get back above and Oscar gets to call the buy. You get below, it gets back above, Oscar gets to call the buy. You get near it, you head back up, Oscar gets to call the buy. Last time down, one day under, Oscar gets to call the buy. So we spent a few days here, finally, a few days under OTAPMA, but when we got back above, I thought I get to call the buy. And you know what? It only lasted a half a day. We got one good trade out of it, and it turned. That is complete failure at my OTAPMA. Complete failure. This is troubling me very much. Let me show you another one. This is troubling me. This is the Russell. Same action. You do not get below OTAPMA. It doesn't happen. If you do, it becomes eventful. Well, we're under. It became slightly eventful. We got back above. And look. A huge failure. I mean, huge. Traders, I kid you not. This seals for me what's been bothering me lately. And you know I've mentioned this to you all in my chat room dozens and dozens of times. But what I've noticed is it's easier to call the high each day than the low. You can find a great place to go short the market dumps. If you buy, even on green days, you end up wishing that you sold the highs. So what's happening is the market is morphing lately into a sell of rally market. Now, I didn't want to become a seller of rallies yet because you know how Omni is. When Omni grabs onto a trend, it stays on that trend. It's a buyer of dips, and that's that. It doesn't change its mind. But this is something different. Once again, let me show you why. Let me remove today. When you get below OTAPMA and you finally get back above, what you'll notice is that it continues and it skyrockets. When you get near OTAPMA and it finally gets back up, it continues in a big way. If you get under OTAPMA at all and you get back above, it continues in a big way. So every time, look, you get underneath it just a little bit, it heads up and continues in a big way. There was no way I should not have been calling for this last night. The Omni turned green. This absolutely works every other time we go near it. This was a very decent call when I made it last night. It only went up a little. So again, remember, When you get to that Omni, you get under it. When you get back above, it really does skyrocket, but not this time. This time it said, Oscar, all this selling of rallies feeling that you've been getting lately, there's a reason for it. We're starting to go into what I would like to call a bear leg mode. I don't think we're going into a bear market. I think we're going into a bear leg here. Let's continue to look at other charts. So we look at the Russell. We get back out of these continuation charts because I'm not big on continuation charts. This is the Russell. So here's the view if we just go to a regular. And boom, this looks ugly. This is the one that you would be trading if you trade during the day, the front month, June. This is a complete failure at something where you almost never fail. You got under it, you got back above, it looked fantastic as of last night. You add today in, and you've got a complete failure. So let's see if this continues elsewhere. And you'll recognize there's a theme here, traders. We are beginning to shift. I am beginning to shift into a seller of rallies in my trade setups because we are now starting to breach something that we don't usually breach. And when we do, look at the massive move that took place here. Look at this. We breached, and whoa, that's a big move. So we just breached here. We didn't breach last time. We held, got above, and had a massive rally. It's what normally happens when you get back above. So again, remember my point here. This got below. We got back above. It should have had a massive rally. It did not. In turn, you put today's bar in. Once again, redundant, I know, but I'm trying to prove a point. This is troubling, to say the least. So let's look at a few more markets here. Transportation average, traders. Dow Jones transportation average, let's look at this again. When it does get below, it seems to get ugly in the tranny. When it gets below, it gives it some time. Not this time, but almost every other time. We're not even at it yet. We need to get at least to it. It will get lower, so that all I can see happening right now is that we're going to head into a bit of a bear leg, at least down to here. I don't know how much further. Trading is extremely risky. Make sure that you've got stops in. That's what I'm seeing for the tranny. Look at the Dow. In the Dow, this is the one that's really troublesome. I saved it for just about last. Look at the deep dip that comes when you get below OTAPMA. This is coming. It's working its way there now. This is a deep, deep dip. Wha-bam, below OTAPMA. Wha-bam, we get below OTAPMA. Even that is pretty severe for a dart down for the Dow. Look at this one. Boom. We got here. We spent some time getting above. We put in what's now going to be marked by history as a double top up here. It's not exact perfect, but history will mark this in this as a double top. And we are now backing off, and we're getting below OTAPMA. You've seen the leaders have gotten below already. The Dow is not quite a leader. Sometimes it does, but it's always temporary. The leaders are below OTAPMA. That's where that's going. And then you've got the Grand Kahuna, the one that we're all always trying to trade every day and figure out what's going on, the E-mini S&P. Now, traders, interesting chart. E-mini S&P. This was the very same chart that we started off the videos with on Sunday night. I know the background was white on that chart, but I kid you not, this is that chart. So here we were Sunday night. I called for this right here to this spot, which was 1830 to 1823 and a half. So we did that video last Sunday. The market did come down, but watch at how uncannily it reaches this target. Market comes down. It comes right down, boom, it hits right to the target, runs up, and makes me think, okay, it never even touched OTAPMA. It's on its way back up. We're good to go. And then today comes. Boom. Right down to the 1823 and a half, almost exactly. So here we are, and guess what this brings us to? This is what's disturbing. The leaders have gotten under it. We are here now. This is what happens when you get under it. It's usually not pleasant. That's where it looks like it's going. That's what this video is for. Traders, thank you so much for participating in this class. I hope this keeps us in tune. We will now start to become a seller of rallies until the market tells us something different. that will be our approach unless Omni goes screaming towards the upside. So always remember, keep your stops in place. Always, always keep your emotions out of trading. If I could help you with that, I would tell you to say this, because boy, you would have needed it today after a good win and then a bad loss. Stops are in. Emotions are out. Rock and roll traders, thank you so much. Make sure you heed the Omni OTAPMA warning, and I will see you at livewithoscar.com.